And then they saw me in a bra, and that was it.
What's going on, Pearl Jam nerds? You are listening to Single Podcast Theory. I'm Brad Lyons.
And I'm Brad Blazek.
You really took your time with that one, bud. Yeah, so we were just talking about how he feels like, what, do you feel self-conscious about saying your name?
No,
now that you've heard yourself say it?
No, it's not the like, oh, I hate the way my voice sounds. It's not that. It's just like, I don't know. It sounds...
So literally your words to me were, I don't know how to say my own name.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It just sounds like, I don't know, like I'm speaking another language when I say it.
Well, you did mess up vulnerable.
Vulnerably.
Vulnerably.
Yeah. So.
You doing all right, man?
Yeah, man. I'm doing real good.
I miss you, man.
Oh, thanks.
We didn't get to talk very much this week.
No, we both been pretty busy.
I felt bad at one point. Like I looked down at my phone. I was in the middle of something, and the text conversation was just all you.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been able to respond to like 8 text messages in a row.
Yeah,
I'm like a terrible friend.
I texted you a few things, and I'm like, besides all that, how you doing? Nothing.
I'm gonna be all right, man. I'm going to Disney World tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Take the little man and the little lady. Well, she's not little. I don't mean that she's big. I'm going to stop talking right now. I just mean, I was going to say my old lady, I was going to try and be like a real Southerner. Me and my old lady are going on down to Florida, see them Mickey and Minnie Mouse for a week with the little boy. But that's what we're going to do. Me and Leslie and Aiden, just the three of us. It's going to be fun.
Have you been down there before?
Oh, yeah. Man, back in my touring days. So that's the funny thing that people might not know about touring is that over summers it's all festivals, and there are always festivals at like the Disneys, all the amusement parks, because they all have amphitheaters. So all the Six Flags and I'm trying to think of all of them now.
Universal Studios,
Universal, Disney. God, what are the ones up north? Why can't I think of them? Like, I love those places.
Oh, what's that one in Tampa?
Oh, yeah, that was Busch Gardens.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the point. So I've been to Disney many, many times. What's awesome about those festival gigs at like amusement parks over the summer is that, number one, I mean, the amphitheaters are usually, or the festivals are usually pretty big. So it's like really big crowds. But it also is awesome because the bands get their own personal guide for the day.
Right.
And so they just take you just piss so many people off.
Oh, yeah, going to the front of the line.
Yeah, we just walk down like the employee walkway or whatever and go straight up. And these poor fucking people have been sweating their balls off all day long, like waiting like 2 and 3 hours in line, especially the people that want to get the front seat, and then we just walk up and they think it's their turn and the person's like, nope, I'm sorry.
Rock stars coming through.
Dude, talk about getting some just death looks.
Well,
man.
Hey, I am not a rock star, but I had that treatment one time.
Oh yeah?
You remember Bride of Chucky, that movie?
Yeah.
Well, that was a Universal movie. So Universal Studios, this is when I lived in Florida, Universal Studios had a promotion where if you got married at Universal Studios, they would, put you in the parade, and then we got one of those guys to take us around the whole park.
So you guys got married there?
We got married at Universal Studios
awesome,
at Halloween Horror Nights.
Man.
And it was awesome. Chucky was my best man. And Lurch was the priest.
Oh wow,
dude, it was crazy. It was so much fun.
That's kick ass, man. That's one thing. So talking about being self-conscious about hearing your own voice, I'm kind of over whatever. But I did notice that I say kick ass a lot.
Well, that's like me saying, yeah.
That's true. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I've been trying to work on that, but man, them first couple episodes, holy shit.
Vulnerable. All right, man. So let's get started with some emails. How about that?
All right, let's do it.
Who's up first? I can't even remember.
I'm going to go first.
That's right. Cool.
And we got an email from Dave Omen. Brads, loving the podcast, and thank you guys for creating this podcast community amongst new and old fans alike. You guys do a ton of prep work. We try. And it shows in all the thoughtful and insightful content you guys are putting out there. I'm sure you're getting pounded with episode ideas, but here's one for you. Top 10 deep cut covers. For instance, Timeless Melody and Everyday People would be good examples, but covers like Rockin' in the Free World and Baba O'Reilly would be too much for this list. I'm not sure how you would establish the criteria if in fact this topic is interesting, but maybe something like songs they've covered fewer than 10 times. Take it or leave it, but just keep up the great work. With gratitude, Dave.
Nice,
I like
Dave.
this idea.
I do too, man. I think that, I don't know, you and I we have so many random kind of ideas for episodes that you and I have talked about, and probably ones that we've both thought of that we haven't even talked about yet. But
yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about Pearl Jam, you definitely got to have a covers episode.
Yeah.
You know, it's just whether or not that's enough content for a whole episode, or if we just kind of like segment that episode into like the obvious ones that they do all the time, and then kind of make sure we spend some time on the more obscure ones, you know?
Right.
But I think that's killer, man. I love a lot of these ideas that have been coming in.
Yeah. I had wrote him back that, I do like this idea, and there's so many covers that they do that you wouldn't think of Pearl Jam doing, you know?
Sure.
And just on the last tour, they did Doobie Brothers Taking It to the Streets, and then the Chamber Brothers Time Has Come Today, which was awesome.
Yeah. I haven't listened to that yet.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea.
I'm down with it.
Yeah.
I support it. All right. We've got our good friend Tony. What's up, Tony Tamby? I would like to...
Mr. Tony Tamby.
Mr. Tony Tamby. Okay, yeah, I'm going to explain this in just a second. But here we go. Hi, guys. I never really meant to become one of those people that writes into podcasts all the time. But first, the metal up your podcast guys mispronounced my name or last name, then riffed on it for 5 minutes, so much so that they wrote a jingle for when I write in. Now you guys said you're discussing my name for 5 minutes. You pronounced it right. Tamby rhymes with Bambi. I think that you were hinting... Oh, I think what you were hinting at was that you weren't sure if I was a dude. Yes, Tony with a Y. I'm a dude. This is all so funny. So I'm going to stop right there and say that is exactly what we were trying to... not trying to figure out. It's just that, you know, some people have started following us on Instagram and Twitter and all that. And you just kind of like I'll be at work and I'll just kind of like flip through the feed or tap on whoever it is that just started following us. By the way, thank all of you who are following us. We really appreciate it. And I saw his, you know, the profile pics on Instagram are so tiny, and they're not like Twitter where you can tap on them and it blows them up or whatever. So all that's like you can really see at a glance is just glasses, and like I'm assuming he has a hoodie on or whatever. And I just kind of flicked down and I saw I saw a woman with glasses, and then I saw kids, and I was like, oh, well, maybe it's Tony, a female Tony, whatever. And so I just kind of had that stuck in my head without really thinking about it. And then you and I were talking about emails and who's going to read what. And I said she, and you said he, and we were like, wait, what? We have to figure out the gender before we start talking.
And I was like, Tony with a Y. Tony, a female, would be with an I. So
which makes total sense. But for some reason, whatever, man. Anyway, he says, anyway, Pearl Jam. Let me defend my comment about how I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't have 10 in their top 3. First off, I get that this is a favorite ranking and not a best ranking. So, of course, everyone is entitled to their opinion. We have the coolest, most respectful people in debate. I love it. No one's been, trolling us yet.
No, it's all been really cool.
I'm one of those guys that came on board at the very beginning, and then with each album, they got farther from the band that I loved. By the time No Code came around, I just gave up on them. It was foolish, and I've since come back around on most of their albums. My argument for 10, which I really love the rest of this email. My argument for 10, if I was trying to convince someone that they need it high in their list, it's this. Take out Even Flow, Alive, Jeremy, and Black, and what you're left with is Once, Why Go, Oceans, Jesus, Porch, Garden, Deep, and Release. That's as strong as any 7 songs that you could possibly pull together from almost any other band. And that's taking out 4 of the best songs of the last 30 years. It's top to bottom, all killer, no filler. Someone may be tired of hearing a few of the songs, but that's no reason to sink that album down to numbers 6 through 10 on the list. To me, it's like saying Dark Side of the Moon isn't one of Pink Floyd's best albums because it's so overplayed. So, sorry for the long email. Keep up the great work on the show, Tony. So, I wrote Tony a response, and we'll kind of talk about it here. The funny thing is that obviously I'm the one that put 10 at number 8 on my list. But I don't disagree with anything he just said. And I love the kind of the perspective or the lens that he's looking at this through, which is, I never thought about that. Taking out Even Flow, Alive, Jeremy, and Black. And what's left on that album would still be a kick-ass album.
Yeah.
And it's totally true, man.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that either, but it is a great way to look at it.
And then his whole, Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon analogy, I think is great, although I will disagree with the analogy, and maybe I'm just assuming that some of this is directed towards me because of where I put 10, but I think that's why I said before I read my list on that episode that I was conflicted on whether or not I was going to approach this, like I'd said, almost like a critic. And if I had, then 10 would be in a completely different place, if not number 1, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not how I was approaching my ranking.
It's rating versus ranking.
Sure. Anyway, so, I mean... Yeah, and the funny thing is, I mean, if this podcast keeps going on, I think it'd be interesting to, at some later date, revisit the ranking episode, or at least make it kind of a throwback bonus episode one week or something,
right.
And just see if our rankings have changed over time, which I'm quite certain that mine will have.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, I thought it was a really cool email, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, man. What you got next?
All right, Patrick Bogle.
Yeah.
We talked about Patrick earlier, and we both fumbled his last name, calling him Patrick Bagel. So Patrick writes in, Bagel, you've created your first troll. Kidding. You got it right the first time out with the long O on the last name, but it is a common mispronunciation. I'm
still calling him Bagel.
Yeah, he's in my heart.
Bagel.
He's Bagel. Another good listen this week. So thanks for thanks for time in putting this together. Am I saying that right? It sounds like I'm reading my name.
God.
Lightning Bolt is a record that continues to grow in importance to me on a personal level. Overall, I find it to be their most cohesive record they have released in a while. I think coming in from a more classic rock and 80s punk, new wave background to the band, artists like the Beatles, The Who, Neil Young, and then the Ramones, R.E.M., etc., colors my perception of each record's sound quite a bit. Anyway, again, thanks for putting this all out. Hopefully it continues to grow. Cheers, Bogle, not Bagel. So
we love you, Bagel.
Yeah. And I wrote him back. I said, as someone who knows the hassle of explaining how to pronounce my last name, Blazek, I apologize. And so thanks for being a good sport about it, Patrick.
Yeah, man. Good email.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Kurt. We got an email from Kurt. Our first our first email.
He was our first
listener.
email, wasn't he?
Yeah, man. All right, here's Kurt's email. It says, "Hi guys, I'm loving the podcast and nice hearing you both go through each song on the album. Regarding Mind Your Manners and the punk sound from Mike, I think I remember him saying that he was channeling East Bay Ray from Dead Kennedys for that one, which might explain how it was has a different edge to it. Nice work killing it in the Instagram clip, by the way. Your gold top with the Bigsby made me tingly inside. Keep on a rockin', Kurt." Well, Kurt, I'm glad that I can bring out those feelings in you.
Hey, man, I'm right there with Kurt. I didn't know that was going up, and I just checked Instagram and I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, that was an awesome solo.
Well, and it was funny, man. It was like I realized because I had been thinking, I was like, yeah, I should put up like something from Lightning Bolt for the episode this week, and I actually meant to do that for 10 as well, but I just haven't had time.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, I've never learned how to play any song off of Lightning Bolt.
Oh, wow.
So I just figured I'd, figure out Mind Your Manners real quick, and it was fun.
Yeah, I love that solo. So that was a good surprise.
Yeah, man. Thanks again, Kurt. And then lastly, I know his name's Dave, but that's all I can tell you about him. But he says, fantastic. See, I can't. Does anyone listening work for Hooked on Phonics? Because we might need some help. All right, here we go. Fantastic job, guys. I've been waiting for something like this for a long time. I can relate to you guys so much. Thank you for creating this, and I look forward to hearing more from you guys. Keep it going. And that's from Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
That means a lot, man. We're having a lot of fun. It
is. This is awesome.
All right. Well, do we have anything else, listener-wise?
There was a couple people on the Pearl Jam, their official website message board, the Porch.
Right.
Rummy had wrote in that he says 10 at number 8 for shame.
Oh yeah, what else did he say?
Where's that Cersei Lannister walk of shame meme when you need one? So,
I'm gonna have to find it.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Who is that from again?
That is Rummy.
Oh, Rummy, that's right.
On the Porch message board.
Yeah.
He says, in fairness to, let's see, I think he's talking about you. In fairness to musician Brad, who gave such a low ranking, not rating, mind you. That's where this is coming from. Rummy saying we're ranking them, not rating them.
Right.
I haven't listened to the studio album, either version, in years. In fact, I rarely listen to any of them anymore. It's bootlegs and live versions all the way for me. And I'm like that too. I mean, I listen to the studio versions, but I do listen to a ton of the bootlegs now. So he goes on to say, just listen to episode 5 about Lightning Bolt. Although I'm not a huge fan of the album, I did enjoy the podcast. Getaway, Mind Your Manners, Pendulum, and Infallible, and maybe the title track are all solid tunes, especially Getaway. When I saw them perform Pendulum to open the show I saw in Buffalo, I thought that it might eventually be put up alongside the classics, slow burn openers like Release or Long Road. Maybe I was getting ahead of myself, but I'm sure you catch my drift. It's a pretty cool opener. That goes back to what I was saying, that I didn't really love that song when I first heard it, but hearing it as an opener, it does. It works. Yeah. So he goes on to talk about how we talked about the band playing No Code and Yield all the way through in 2 different shows. Right. That it may have seemed a bit of a gimmick on the surface, which, of course, you stated wasn't the case. However, like many bands that play older albums, Pearl Jam didn't announce it in advance, somewhat maintaining the surprise factor. They didn't tour the album like most do. If there is, in fact, a gimmick involved, that would be it. And he's right. I mean, when these bands will tour the full album, like Megadeth did Rust in Peace. They did a Rust in Peace tour,
right?
Which I saw that one and I loved it.
Hell yeah.
So I don't know. I think if it was ever considered a gimmick, I think people have come around to that it's a cool thing.
Yeah, totally.
So, let's see. F me in the brain.
I love it.
I love that screen
Hell
name.
yeah.
I love it. I listened to episode 1 today. I liked it, and I will listen to more. You all should think about scheduling some of the people on here to discuss their experiences if you haven't done that yet. This community is incredible, as you know, and I applaud you for bringing light to it. He's right, or she's right. There's some really good people out there, especially on this message board, on the Pearl Jam message board.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they went on to say some nice things about my father and all that. So, TJ, but thank you, F me in the brain.
I love that our sweetest comment,
I know,
comes from username F me in the brain.
TJ 25487. Great job on the podcast, guys. Keep up the good work. I've enjoyed the first couple and can't wait to listen to the rest. Thank you, TJ. B English 017. Just checked out the introduction. Sounds good so far. Thank you all. Can't wait to check out the rest. So again,
hell
yeah. Hang in there with us.
Yeah, man.
So
I think we're doing all right.
I think so.
You think so?
I've only listened to every episode like 10 times, but you know.
I do listen to it the night that we record it.
Yeah.
If I have it available to me, just to make sure.
Well, you know what's cool? My daughter walked in from work the other night and she was listening to it on her phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, are you listening to that? She says, yeah, I like listening to it because you sound so much better on the show. So
you don't sound like a dipshit, Dad.
I guess not. So, but you know what's crazy? She was like, she's listening to it because I left the CD of Lightning Bolt in the van, and she likes Lightning Bolt. So I was like,
hell
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
she's grown up with me listening to them, but that doesn't mean she listens to them. But I'm like, cool. So she wanted to dig in and listen to the episode. So
that's how I found The Who, was because my dad loved The Who.
Right.
And when I was younger, I was like, I didn't not like them or anything, but I had never really dug into them, and I'm glad I did because of that, you know. So this reminds me of you telling that little story. And you don't even know this yet. So Leslie has been having to travel. My girlfriend has been having to travel for work. And when I should say partner, we've been together for like 7 years and whatever. We just have never gotten married, and I don't know if we will. But anyway, so it's, a serious relationship.
Right.
And she rarely, she would hate me for saying this. It's like, we are very different people, and that's probably how we stay together, is that sort of, I guess, balance each other, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, I never, and I don't think she dislikes Pearl Jam, but she's a total like radio girl, right? She just has like 2 or 3 stations that she just flips through, and that's it for her. She's cool with that, she doesn't think too hard about music. But I guess on one of her road trips the other day, she decided that she was going to listen to the podcast.
Oh, wow.
And she goes, hey, she called me. She was on a break. She's like, hey, podcast sounds good. I was like, you listen to it? She's like, yeah, well, I've had like a lot of time in the car, so I figured I'd give it a listen. Sounds good. And it should have just stopped there.
Right.
Because then she goes, you talk a lot. And I was like, what? Well, I mean, it's a podcast. That's what we do, is talk. She's like, no, like you do. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I mean, like you interrupt Brad sometimes. And I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you do.
No, fuck you, Brad. So I will say that I don't remember which episode she was listening to that made her say that. But here's the deal. And she even went as far as to say, like, I mean, I got kind of like cringy a couple times. I was like, oh my God, You know, I'm like an extremely insecure, sensitive musician type. You can't say that to me and expect me to go into tape the next podcast and not be completely self-conscious. Anyway, but I did explain to her, like, the way we have to do this, if I don't get my levels quite right with your phone patch, then because it's a phone line thing, there was one episode, and we talked about it.
Yeah.
So I just want everyone to know that I'm not being like an egomaniac asshole, where I just didn't have the levels quite right. So if you started talking, I didn't hear it, and then I would keep going.
Yeah.
I guess probably trying to save for any kind of like awkward silence in the show, but that was not me trying to steamroll Brad. I just feel like I had to say all that.
Hey,
Sorry.
I'm just glad she's listening.
Oh, me too, man.
So
I think she's digging it.
Yeah,
we might turn her into a Pearl Jam fan.
that'd be awesome.
Hell yeah!
It's funny because my wife is not. She doesn't hate them, but she's not a Pearl Jam fan.
Right.
But she's not like a huge music fan like I am. She likes.
Neither is Leslie.
She likes the couple of bands she likes, but you know she doesn't know every little thing about them like the band, like I do about the bands I like. Right. You know, so.
Well, that's one thing she did say. She was like, she said it a couple times recently, but definitely after, she was like, I was like, what? She's like, it must be exhausting for you to listen to music. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you just think about every little thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a musician. She's like, I just listen to it and have fun. And I'm like, there is a part of me that's kind of jealous of that in a way, but yeah, I never really thought of it that way. I mean, you're not a musician, but you probably listen to music like it's not just like background noise for you.
I pull up the lyrics on my phone. I'm going on Wikipedia to look at, you know, all the bands that the one person has been in, and it's just you can go down a rabbit hole, just from listening to one song. Sure. So to be this deep into a band, someone was telling me the other day, like, you're gonna run out of stuff to say, you know, and I'm like, I don't think so. I've been doing this in my head for 25 years.
Yeah, no shit. So that's the truth, man. If I even think someone's willing to talk about Pearl Jam, I'm like, I just go for it. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't happen all the time. Yeah. But the downside of having a lady that isn't into music the same. I mean, she loves music, but it's different. Is she could give a shit. She does not understand what I do during the day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I come home and I'm like fucking tired, and you know, because a lot of times, like, you know, especially in the studio, you'll pull a 12, 14-hour day, no problem. And if you're doing a record, it's like days in a row of that shit. And I'm like, man, just, you know, she's like, she will be like, how's your day or whatever. And I'll explain it to her, and she just doesn't get it. She's like, yeah, you forgot to take out the trash. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Oh man, she's going to kill me. All right, let's move on to the reason for. Should we move? Are we ready to move on?
Do you want to do some?
Well, we
some
did want to
news?
mention how badass was that Eddie popping out onto the street outside of Wrigley Field.
That was crazy.
With those two kids that were playing corduroy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just walks up and ends up taking like the kid lets him play the guitar, and that oh man, that kid that was playing drums. Yeah. My life would have just been over.
Oh, me too.
Done.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything else. Yeah. Just sits there and plays like an instrumental jam of corduroy with him.
Yeah. And they were playing a Seeker too. The Who's Seeker.
Oh, I didn't see that part.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if people don't know what we're talking about, this was all over the internet the other day, but the Cubs were playing at Wrigley Field during the day, and apparently Eddie was there. And after the show, he was across the street at Murphy's, a real well-known bar over there. And these two guys were playing. You know, you see people on the street playing guitar, or you see those guys playing like the buckets, you know, on the drums. But they were out there playing, and they're actually they're two members of a Chicago-based band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Royal Outsiders. Okay. But I guess Eddie came out at one point, and they kind of locked eyes. And the guy playing guitar was like, "Hey, Ed," you know. And he told him, you guys should keep playing. And he went upstairs to the rooftop because there's like a patio out there you can hang out. And but after some more time, he came down and asked the dude for the guitar, and they started playing The Seeker. And then that kind of jammed into Corduroy.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
So, it's just another reason to love Eddie and love Pearl Jam. You know, it seems like Eddie really wants to connect with the fans.
Yeah.
But the bad part of that is like the psycho fans that don't know how to act. You know what I mean? And they just go crazy.
Yeah.
And something like this, because this was way after. I think the game probably ended about 3 or 4, and it was dark out, so it had to be 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So at that point, there's only, a few people out there, and they probably don't. Half of them didn't even probably know it was him. You know, they just think it's some dude playing with them. So, but he played the songs and then kind of hung out with those guys for a few minutes and then took off into the night. So, but yeah, dude, the Royal Outsiders. They've got an album on iTunes.
I wonder if they're any good.
I listened to it tonight. I liked it a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, check
the
them
Royal
out.
Outsiders. All right, I'll check it out.
They're just basic, rock band,
rock and roll,
alternative rock, I guess you might. I could see them opening for Pearl Jam. They would fit right in.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Well, good on you, Eddie.
He was out there again on Sunday. He sat down behind the drums and was playing the dude's drums. So
I saw a clip of that.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Cool. Well. Good job, Eddie. That's why we love you.
Yeah.
Well, man, you and I are going to meet in person for the first time.
Yes.
In Nashville.
Hug explosion.
Dude, hug explosion.
Yeah, the Pearl Jam music documentary that they did, it's coming out. It's based on the 2 shows they played at Wrigley last year.
Yeah.
So they're releasing it in the theaters. It's playing in different cities over the course of like 3 or 4 days. So, but you and I are going to Nashville October 3rd.
That's right. That's our meet in the middle spot.
Yeah. If there's anyone listening that's in Nashville, we'd love to meet you.
You're probably going to be going to see it anyway.
Yeah.
If you're someone listening to a Pearl Jam podcast, I would assume that you would be going to the Nashville.
And tickets are like $10. I mean, come on.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good night, man.
Yeah, I can't. It's playing we're going to see it at 7. But there's another showing at like 10.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I'm like, we might just have to stay and watch the second showing.
You animal. You beast. Maybe we will. We'll find out. Let's see, real quick.
Can I just real quick?
Sure.
Like all I've been fantasizing about, because I was at I was at those shows.
Oh, right.
And I was not.
What if you're in it, dude?
That's what I'm saying. Oh.
Where were your seats? Where did you watch it?
I was on Mike's side about, it's general admission. So, but like 3rd row from the rail on Mike's side.
Oh, shit.
But dude, at one point, I got up to the front and gave Eddie a baseball.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So,
dude, you never told me that.
I did. I thought
that's kind of a big deal.
The first night, he was throwing baseballs out to the crowd. So the second night, I brought my own baseball and a glove, hoping that he would see me and throw me a ball. And I was going to throw my ball to him. And I got a bunch of fans to sign the ball. We all signed it like, thank you for, I can't remember what it said, but thank you for whatever, the music. And we all signed it, just people all around me. And so when the thing with the baseballs, he did that again, and he didn't see me. And I was trying. I had my arm up and was, waving it like crazy. But I didn't want to throw it at him and hit him in the head or something. He's not looking. So later in the show, during Yellow Ledbetter, he comes down to the front rail and he's walking all the way up and down. And he gets to the one end and I start like pushing my way. I mean, people were getting pissed off at me and I felt bad about that, but I'm like, you don't understand. I have to get this baseball. Yeah. And I was still like behind like two people, but I had my arm like extended as far as I could over the rail. And he's, shaking people's hands, high-fiving people. And at one point there was some people that had a flag and he grabbed that. And then he was looking at the baseball and just plucked it out of my hand. Didn't even look at me and just kept on walking. So.
You ungrateful son of a bitch, Eddie.
So, but yeah, dude,
that's badass, man.
It was, yeah, dude, it was pretty awesome. I have video of it. I'll send it to you. There was someone behind me filming me, and I didn't know it till after the show. He's like, dude, I filmed you handing the ball to Eddie, and so I'll have to send that to you.
Yeah, please do.
But yeah,
learn something new every day about this guy, old Brad Blazek.
We're basically best friends now.
Who? You and Eddie?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. You guys iChat a lot? You guys AOL Instant Messenger a lot? All right, another quick piece of Pearl Jam news. Matt Cameron has a new solo record out called Cave Dweller.
Wait. Did you say Cave Yodeler?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, God.
I wish that's what it was called.
That'd be a real weird
that would
album
be.
title.
Yeah.
Matt, you okay? I have not listened to it yet, but you have.
Yeah, I listened to it today. It's really good. It's pretty upbeat. It's kind of like vibey. I don't know how to say it, but I liked it a lot. People should check it out.
I'll check it out this week.
It rocks, dude.
Well, it does?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
cool. Well,
it's not too weird. It's not too slow. But it's good. It's really good.
Good deal. Yeah, I'll check it out and we can talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Stone made some news this week.
Yeah, Stone sent out a letter to the fans just kind of addressing some of the crazy stuff that's happening right now. So they put up a note or a letter that he wrote to everyone, and I was just going to read that if you want me to.
Yeah, sure. By crazy stuff, do you mean that we're days away from the Earth opening a giant hole like a mouth in the center of the Earth and swallowing us all alive? And the world is going to be over? He
didn't mention that, okay. But I have seen those reports.
That's what it feels like some days.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, what do you say?
All right, so this was September 19th, 2017. There is so much happening in the world right now, a seemingly endless string of heartbreaking events. It feels relentless. Forest fires across the western United States and Canada, hurricanes, floods, and wreckage in Texas and the southeastern states and the Caribbean, the hate marches and violence erupting in Charlottesville, now cropping up around the country, the earthquake in Mexico, the threat of nuclear war from North Korea, the famine in Yemen, South Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, the ethnic cleansing in Myanmar, the recent devastation in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, and more, so much more. We wish we could reach out to each one of you individually because we know you are likely hurting from one or more of these things. Please know we are feeling all this too, and thinking about everyone and trying to do as many things as we can to help as many people as possible. We know you're all doing the same. Hang on to each other. And that's how it ended. Man. So, and that was a week ago. There seems like there's been a bunch more crap since then,
It's every day.
I mean,
man.
Puerto Rico, I think, has been wiped off the map by a hurricane.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's nice though to hear something like that,
I mean, yeah, I don't even know. I mean, all I'm going to say is I think that's amazing to hear those words from him. I don't want to get off into a tangent because that would last a couple hours.
Yeah.
But that's why we're doing a whole god dang episode about that, man.
Yeah, Stone Carpenter Gossard.
Old Carpenter. Much like Jesus. Well, you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do this.
Man, where are we gonna start?
I mean,
did you look up what's his fucking birthday? Where do you?
I did. I looked up his birthday, which was July 20th.
Why don't you give us some basics?
Stone Carpenter Gossard, born in Seattle, July 20th, 1966. So he just turned 51 a couple months ago. There's not a lot about, him growing up and stuff.
Sure.
So, and I kind of don't want to go into all that anyway.
No,
you know what I mean? I kind of would focus on the music and stuff.
Absolutely.
But he was his first major band was Green River.
Yeah.
They got together in 1984.
That's so weird to think about.
What's that?
That's so weird to think about.
84?
In 84, so I was, first of all, I was 6 in 84. But, just to think about, Mark Arm was in that band. Jeff was in that band. I think just because it's been so many years, I kind of forgotten how small and kind of incestuous that whole the beginning of that whole kind of scene was.
I used to have some kind of grunge scene family tree.
Yeah.
And it was nuts how many of the same people were in the same bands. One guy from this band and one guy from that band, and
well, especially when you think about the type of music that was kind of born out of that region, there can't be that many people to pull from that are all wanting to play the same kind of music, especially when a lot of that music is not what's popular or what's cool.
Right.
84, that was in the heyday of the bullshit hair paint stuff,
Yeah.
These kids are all listening to punk and indie shit and
Yeah.
creating a new genre of indie shit,
Yep. Black Sabbath was in there. I never really listened to Green River until really for this,
Yeah.
Because 20 years ago, if unless you lived in Seattle, you weren't going to be able to really get your hands on their stuff.
Yeah.
But with the internet now, it's, a lot of this stuff is available. So, but I liked it, it's definitely a weird mix of Black Sabbath and hardcore 80s punk,
right.
Black Flag kind of,
Sure.
But they are pretty much considered the first grunge band.
I know, man. Well, and I'm a I've always been a Mudhoney fan, and like I said, sometimes I just forget that Mark Arm and Jeff and Stone. That's gonna be their new duo name for Stone and Jeff. Steph.
Yeah, Steph.
We're all in that band together,
right?
And I love too how the other guys were kind of shitting on just how divided they ended up being, as far as Jeff and Stone wanting to be a little bit more, maybe less indie,
Right.
And the other guys were like, fuck that.
Yeah, we want to stay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, with what they went on to do, Steph.
I'm glad they broke up.
Right. Exactly.
It is obvious, though, to see where Mark Arm went versus Stone and Jeff going into Mother Love Bone.
Yeah.
This is so different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude has a pretty unique voice. I think that's part of what makes that album so good, is that it's a different sound, even though they're mixing the two kind of metal and punk genres. But then you add Mark Arm's just voice and delivery.
Sure.
It just made it into something different and new back then.
Which is probably why it didn't blow up.
Right.
Yeah. Because, Mother Love Bone, I don't know if you had anything else to say about Green River, but, it's kind of segueing into Mother Love Bone, completely different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You can hear like leftovers of the 80s rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some cheese moments.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Andy Wood kind of brought that that glam
kind of flamboyant
showmanship, frontman thing.
Which I mean, the little bit of footage I've gotten to see of him, he was I mean, there's no doubt that he was a kick-ass frontman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not downplaying that stuff.
Oh, sure. I mean, they definitely weren't. Yeah, let me qualify it too. I liked that band, Mother Love Bone. They definitely weren't as cheesy as most of the stuff that was out there, but they were definitely kind of going back and listening to it, kind of a bridge out of that world into what would become, the grunge stuff or whatever.
Yeah, you can definitely see the progression from like Green River splitting off. Again, Stone and Jeff wanting to go a little more mainstream, and the other guys going, more indie with Mudhoney. So you get Mother Love Bone on the one side and Mudhoney on the other.
Yeah. Well, and you can even hear it on that Mother Love Bone record Apple, like, some of the songs that Jeff. I mean, it's kind of a similar situation to Pearl Jam too. I mean, you can almost look at it like it was an unintentional blueprint in the sense that the whole record, Andy Wood wrote all the lyrics, and he wrote some of the songs, but there was a lot of Stone writing songs and a lot of Stone and Jeff writing songs, and then Andy Wood writing the vocals and lyrics on top of it, just like what would become Pearl Jam.
Right.
And you can definitely hear, I mean, you can hear it on 10, but you can definitely hear Stone's Zeppelin influence on stuff like what's that song? Stardog Champion. The guitar for that has some super Zeppelin moments on that, mixed with a little 80s. Kind of reminds me of like late 70s era, like towards the end of Zeppelin before Bonham died, those last couple records.
Right.
More of like the groove stuff with the heavy guitar on it. Sounds like some of that Mother Love Bone stuff, but yeah, man. I mean, it's a cool band. I mean, obviously, another kind of offshoot to this whole story is, unfortunately, the OD of Andy Wood and how prevalent that kind of situation, whether it's drugs or whether it's suicide or whether it's suicide by doing too many drugs, like Elaine Staley or something like that. He didn't officially commit suicide. The heroin ended up killing him, but isn't that kind of committing suicide? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of really sad, dark stories that kind of...
Yeah, I think he got to a point where he didn't care. So...
Of course.
It's just...
It's like... I still am amazed, like, John Frusciante, if you've ever... There's this... It's so brutal. Like, I think I've only seen it twice. Once when I found it, and then I just couldn't watch it because it was just too hard to watch for years. But I think it was maybe some filmmakers from Holland came over and were wanting to do a documentary on John Frusciante. And if you guys don't know who that is, that's the Chili Peppers guitar player, or the one that everyone would know from when they blew up or whatever, like Blood Sugar Sex Magic and all that stuff. And he was in the downward spiral of heroin, and the dude couldn't talk. He was so just smacked out that like it was changing like his facial bone structure. Like he didn't really look like the same person anymore. It was just so brutal to watch, but he came out of it. I don't know how that dude's still alive, but it's just sad that people like Lane couldn't get out of it. I'm sure we'll talk about this more in depth down the road, but, Chris Cornell is a huge part of any member of Pearl Jam's story.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that one hit me super hard, man. And there's not many people that I can really felt like I could talk to about that, except for, I called Clint.
Right.
Because I knew he would get it. And, as someone that's still kind of grinding it out as a musician and being creative, and it's I don't mean like anyone deserves a medal for doing it, but it's not easy. It's not part of, I don't know, mainstream society and what you do,
Yeah.
There's a lot of kind of obstacles to, I don't know, doing art of any kind, as a living or whatever. But then there's all the other stuff, like, I don't know, I just kind of looked at him as someone that figured it out.
I was gonna say it's we're all of you and I and these bands are similar age, and it seems like with Chris Cornell it was such a it was just such a surprise, because you would think that if he had any of those issues that he came out of it, just like you said, like John Frusciante.
Yeah.
Like that part of their lives was in the past and they had figured it out. So for
me, it's like, even saying figured it out, I know you don't either. Like, I don't mean like figured out the meaning to life and everything was great or whatever, but at least like he had a family and kids, and like he still had a great career, and he was in 2 huge badass rock bands. I mean, it's enough to be in one, but then for lightning to strike twice and then be an audio slave. And I mean, it might not have been as big of a part of his career, but his solo career was no joke.
Yeah.
You go back and watch all those, like, unfortunately now it just has to be YouTube, but whether it's covers that he would do, acoustic versions of his own songs, where he'd go do like solo tours and stuff. Holy shit. Yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to make this a Chris Cornell episode, but I don't know, man. It's just like, as a musician and being a little bit younger than him, you kind of look up to him and go like, he figured it out. And he's kind of made it over these huge humps, and he's probably like 50 now or whatever. And for me, he was one of the people, like, I just, not to get too personal or whatever, but it's just, I think it's applicable. Like, I had to go to treatment for rehab, and I'm less than a year sober, or treatment for alcohol, and I'm less than a year sober. And like, people like him were the kind of people that in music that I looked at and like, see, they got their shit together and they still make great music. Right. Cause
I think a good way to say it is they learned how to deal with it more than they figured it out. They learned to
how
deal
to coexist with it.
Yeah. When this shit happens, you now have the tools to deal with it, and that's what I think makes it so hard for when you think about Chris Cornell. It's just, man,
that was definitely like, I mean, we've had a lot of deaths as far as musicians over the last probably 1.5 to 2 years that hurt, but that one for me was like, kind of had me a little off for a few days after that. But anyway, where were we? I don't even remember how we got onto all that shit. But that
Green River?
That could be a good, well, we were Mother Love Bone, but that could be a good segue into Temple of the Dog, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're a Pearl Jam fan, you've definitely at least gone this far back as a listener, or at least if you were around for, the first 10 or so years of Pearl Jam's career. It's so funny because I, in my memory as a kid, and I'm sure it's just how things got released or re-promoted or whatever, but in my head, that stuff happened after Pearl Jam and Soundgarden had gotten big. But in reality, they had done all that stuff before. There wasn't a Pearl Jam yet. Right.
Pearl Jam was still like in their just early beginnings when that happened, when Temple happened.
Well, he was up there to kind of, after that, he sent the audition tape. Eddie was up there and ended up getting asked to sing Hunger Strike and some other songs for some BGVs. But
I think what happened, though, was that the album came out and it didn't really do anything. But then when 10
they all blew up.
Yeah, when all those bands blew up, they were looking for
like,
anything.
Money.
Yeah, exactly. They were looking for anything to put out, and so they started pushing Temple of the Dog, which I think I had heard that stuff first.
I don't think I had. You're cooler than me, Brad.
What's that?
I said, you're cooler than me. You heard it first.
Yeah, I liked it before everyone else.
They were my favorite band first.
No, but I think I talked about this before. I worked at a Six Flags, and we had a tape of the single soundtrack and Temple of the Dog and Joe Satriani, Surfing with the Alien.
Oh,
so
wow.
we would listen to all that while we were in the back, making popcorn and stuff.
Satriani, ugh.
What?
Fucking gross.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
What the fuck?
Satriani, fucking Steve Vai. Ugh.
No way, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You need to listen to...
No, I don't.
You need to listen to Surfing with the... Look, I get Steve Vai. He's very, technical and, mystical and shit. Satriani is just a regular, down-to-earth dude that is fucking awesome on guitar.
Oh, I'm sure he's a cool guy. I don't think Steve Vai is probably a cool guy, but I don't know, man. I don't like solo instrumentalist stuff.
Oh,
I like songs with lyrics, and I don't know. I'm just giving you shit, but I really don't. I can't stand that shit.
All right. Well, anyway, so Temple of the Dog. Yeah, we listened to that stuff constantly because it was the only 3 tapes we had in the back. So,
well, and so as far as Stone, I mean, his main songwriting contributions are pretty great. I mean, Pushing Forward Back, which was the single, he wrote that with Jeff. Times of Trouble, which is Footsteps, to Pearl Jam fans, from the Mama Son trilogy or demo tapes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's a third, Four Walled World, I think is the other one. I think that was all Stone. But yeah, man, I mean, Pushing Forward Back, that's a great fucking song. Well, does that lead us into Pearl Jam?
Yes.
Are we missing anything in between there?
No, because I mean, Andy Wood's dying was
the catalyst.
Yeah, I mean that brought Temple of the Dog, and then that brought Jeff and Stone to start this new band.
Well, and the funny thing too is I guess it's a Stone episode, so we should get into some details. But I like the fact that Jeff and Stone both handled Andy's death in completely different ways, which was that Stone kind of immersed himself into continuing to write as a way to deal with it. Jeff was like, fuck this, I'm out. And
he kind of quit music for a while, right?
Yeah, and in all actuality, it was that Stone had been jamming with Mike.
Right.
And then Mike was kind of like, man, you need to get Jeff back on board with this whole thing. You know what I mean? So, obviously Mike hadn't started contributing as far as songwriting or whatever, but it shouldn't be left unsaid that Mike wasn't a huge part of kind of urging Stone to pull Jeff out from under his rock, Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we might not have Pearl Jam.
Man.
Because you got to have that duo, man. You got to have Mike and Stone on guitar.
Yeah.
So real quick, before we kind of jump into... we didn't really talk about how we want to handle the Pearl Jam part, but I do, just to kind of, I guess, prove a point, and I'll do it as quickly as possible. I'm not going to stick on any one song, but I went through and wrote down from each studio album, and obviously there's way more when you count outtakes and B-sides, and some of those actually some of my favorite songs, like Fatal, but all the songs that Stone has songwriting credits for from all 10 Pearl Jam albums. You ready? I'm going to do this quick.
Yeah.
All right, so check this out. This motherfucker wrote all these songs. From 10, Once, Even Flow, Alive, Black, Oceans, Garden, Deep, and Release. From Verses, Animal, Daughter, Glorified G, Dissident, Blood, Leash. Let's see, what else? Vitology, Last Exit, Spin the Black Circle, Satan's Bed, No Code, Hail Hail, Who You Are, In My Tree, Red Mosquito, Mankind. From Yield, No Way, Do the Evolution, In Hiding, All Those Yesterdays. Next page, Binaural, Light Years, Thin Air, Of the Girl, and Rival. Riot Act, Save You, Bush Leaguer, and All or None. Avocado, Life Wasted, Comatose, and Parachutes. Backspacer, The Fixer, Johnny Guitar, Amongst the Waves, Supersonic, and Lightning Bolt, Infallible, Pendulum, and Let the Records Play. That's a fucking credit list right there, man.
Yeah.
Dude, and obviously some of these are like co-writes with usually Jeff, but some of them are collaborations with the whole band. But I mean, you'd be surprised at how many of those are just, the music is just credited to Stone. Especially kind of going back to, our email conversations earlier. I mean, Once, Even Flow, Alive, Black, Oceans, Garden, Deep, and Release, in regards to the record that is a classic record, will always be, and the record that catapulted them into what they are now. And he wrote all that shit.
It's incredible.
Woo.
I mean...
It's insane, man. And then, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to go through the list, but I read that whole list just, like I said, to kind of like make a point. That's a long fucking list. And there's some strong... I mean, Hail Hail is one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, me too.
Anyway, Last Exit's one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs. In Hiding is such a badass song. All those yesterdays. And then B-side shit, man. Just tons of stuff. He's an insane songwriter. Anyway.
And he's done a couple solo albums.
Yeah.
He was in this band called Brad. He's pretty prolific too. Because doing this research, Brad formed in 92.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like the height of Pearl Jam mania.
Yeah,
like,
he kind of had that going right away.
Yeah, like how did they do that at the same? Because Shame, their first album Shame came out in 93.
Right.
That's when Versus came out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, when did he have the time to do it?
I don't know, and I'm trying to remember how far back Studio Litho goes, like his recording studio that he owns.
Yeah.
I don't know if it goes back that far or not, but I mean, a lot of that stuff obviously is done there, and his work is being co-owner of a record label for a while, and he still has that studio, which Pearl Jam still does tons of work there.
Right.
I think they ended up moving in there for the end of the Lightning Bolt sessions to finish out that record. But yeah, man, the dude. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously we can't get through this episode without me talking about him as a guitar player.
Right.
And I think I've mentioned it before, but I think what I love about him is that as a kid, you hear that word, as a guitar player, you hear that word riff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of changed my idea of what you could call a riff. Because I don't know, at least for me anyway, my experience as a kid was like that, like kind of like single note or just like 1 and 5 power chord, kind of like Metallica type riffs, right? They're not usually playing like a whole chord. It's usually I don't know how to get into this as a musician.
Dude, it's hard to explain
boring the fuck out of people, but
it's hard to explain what a riff is because it's so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, well, and I think that's a great way to say it. I thought it was just kind of one thing, and he kind of made me realize that there's lots of ways to look at that word in terms of being a guitar player.
Yeah.
Because with that first record, 10, I'm trying to remember, like, I think I just started to learn how to play guitar. I was already a drummer. Because Dave Abbruzzese and Bonham were kind of two of my dudes that just really made me want to be in a rock band and play drums. Yeah. But regardless of that, going back and learning, like the Once riff is so easy, but it's just so fucking cool. Like the chord kind of riff at the beginning of the song that's also the chorus. But also what he's doing in the verses, which goes to another point about Stone. He's so rhythmically minded. Like he plays guitar, but he thinks like a drummer.
Yeah.
He's very percussive, or he can be. And it also goes back to, I think it ties into him. He loves hip hop, which makes sense because that whole genre of music is so based on rhythm as far as
beats.
importance over the importance of melody a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
The beats and the loops and all that kind of stuff are all drum based stuff, and then even the vocals that are on top are all percussive. You know, they're not singing, they're rapping.
Right.
And when you think about some of the riffs he's written, like Animal, let me look here. I mean, even flow. I mean, that's very kind of rhythmic and has a groove to it, like a drummer would have. But then he's got this, like, he can go kind of like weird Beatles with like All Those Yesterdays or something.
Yeah.
But he's always got like a weird thing that he does, but it's not gimmicky.
Yeah.
Like, he's never just, usually not playing like really stock standard chord voicings or.
No, that's the thing. You know, listening to his solo records over the last week or so, they really do have a different sound, obviously, than just Pearl Jam, but they have this like weird groove to them.
Yeah.
You know, and he really does do some just different kind of stuff. It's not like listening to Pearl Jam, but it's not so crazy that you're like, what is this?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, man.
But you can definitely see he's been influenced in more than just, you know, Zeppelin. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, what about for you? Like, what are your thoughts on him as someone that doesn't play guitar? I don't know. As far as his, not, I guess.
Well, it's
not
kind of like what you were
importance to the
saying
band,
about
but-
your girlfriend. Like, in that sense, I don't think about it that technically. I just like the music, you know. There's a video on YouTube that I came across, but you've already heard it before. But it's all the isolated guitar tracks of Mike and Stone from 10.
Right.
And I mean, I just put the headphones on and just listen to that because Stone is in the left side,
Yeah.
and Mike's on the right. So I've been like trying to just listen to that and just kind of study what each guy is doing, you know?
Sure.
But I just discovered this like 2 days ago. I guess it's been out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a non-musician, I just listen to the songs and I just really like them. And like I said, listening to his solo stuff the last few days, like there's some stuff I really like because there's one song called I Need Something Different that's I don't know, it's just got like a real like funk style to it. And it's just a really cool song. And I think that's from the latest solo album called Moonlander.
See, I need to kind of man up and dig into his solo stuff.
Yeah.
For some reason, I've kind of been resistant to listening to it over the years. For some reason, I've just never checked it out. But which now that I say it out loud, is just kind of stupid. But I don't know.
Hey, you'd probably dig it. I mean,
is he singing?
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Mankind would be such a better song if Eddie was singing that. I can hear Eddie singing that song.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I love the two Stone songs.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
It's oh god.
Don't Give Me No Lip.
Yeah,
That's
Give Me No Lip.
Yeah, they're weird, funky, groovy kind of songs, you know, and I like it. But I hear where you're coming from with his voice. His two solo albums, I mean, I don't love all of it.
Well, and I think for me it's probably a context thing because I think if I were to go into a Stone solo record, I would kind of be walking into it knowing like this is his voice.
Yeah.
With his guitar playing, and I already know his worth as a writer and contributor to my favorite band. as a guitar player.
Yeah.
Whereas when you are going to have Stone sing on a song with Eddie fucking Vedder, it's really hard to like go from Red Mosquito or whatever is right before Mankind into Mankind.
Yeah.
And hear his voice, That's just me though. I'm not knocking it.
But
it's a cool song,
you have like 99% of Eddie Vedder singing on Pearl Jam. Can't they throw him a bone?
No. Why the fuck would you do that if you have Eddie Vedder? That's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparison. That's like, I mean, Matt can sing, but would you want Matt singing Soundgarden songs? Hell no.
No.
Chris Cornell, man, all day long.
Well,
that's why these guys put out solo records. So there you go. But all right. So I'm still trying to understand, quote unquote, how you listen to this stuff. So, because I think part of it is that, like, we use the reference of like Leslie or whatever. She doesn't even know how to articulate how she listens to it. It's just a lot of like, she's I don't know. I like the song, or I like that band, or whatever. But there's got to be something. There's got to be a reason. Otherwise, you'd say that about all music. So, like, all right. So you said,
well, because I don't differentiate like
who's
this
playing
is
what?
This is a Stone song, or this is Eddie wrote this song, because a few of those songs that you just listed off, like Parachutes, to me, I would have thought that's Eddie's song, like Eddie wrote that.
Right.
So to me, they're all Pearl Jam songs.
Interesting.
Obviously not Mankind or Don't Give Me No Lip, but
okay, so we share a love for Hail Hail, right?
Oh yeah.
So is that still, like, if I were to ask you specifically that song, you would still give me the same answer? You just like it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't understand that.
I think I don't know, because I don't know.
Do you know why you don't like songs?
Because they're not metal.
Oh God. Snoresville.
I never I just never looked, I guess, in the liner notes to see who wrote what song. So to me,
So
I
like,
could never
differentiate
that someone wrote this song or someone else wrote that song.
Right. So let's forget about that part of my question, because I still want to try and get somewhere with this, because there's got to be a better answer than I just like it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And maybe there's not, but I mean, are you so you're a lyrics guy?
I mean, I think what I was going to say a second ago is that I think
before I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You just interrupted me.
Go
and
ahead.
Kept going. You interrupted me about interrupting me. I was gonna say that
vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
It's getting late. I think from the beginning, for a long time, I concentrated on Eddie's lyrics and singing.
Okay.
And then the drums.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And the guitars were secondary. And not in a bad way. It's just what was front and center in my mind was Eddie singing and the lyrics, and then concentrating on the drums.
Okay.
And I couldn't tell you who wrote what song.
You didn't notice the riff to Alive?
I mean, notice it in what way?
Well, I mean, it starts the song without the band.
Yeah, but I didn't realize, that's Stone Gossard wrote that.
I don't give a shit about
part.
Who wrote what or whatever. Like, for me, this is probably just going to be a pointless conversation, so I'm just going to let it go, and we can talk about it more offline, because it's really interesting to me. Like,
yeah,
I don't... Because you literally, like, I totally get, like, okay, I focus on these elements more than other ones,
right.
But it also kind of sounds like you're saying, like, I didn't notice. But, like, Pearl Jam is known as a guitar band. Like, I totally get the whole, like, I don't really give a shit who wrote what riff or whatever. I totally get that. I mean, most of the time, I don't either. But you've got to you can't like a band like Pearl Jam, and I feel like you can't. I shouldn't say that. I feel like you can't love a band like Pearl Jam and not have like pretty substantial opinions about the guitars, because they are a guitar rock band.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of it. That's the song part of it. But maybe I'm not understanding what you're trying to ask me.
Whatever, Brad. Whatever.
Fuck it. I'm going to Disney World. We're done.
We're all going together.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Well,
that'd be awesome.
So a little bit more guitar nerdery over here, which is, and I think I've kind of touched on a little bit on one of the other episodes, and it might have been the Lightning Bolt one actually, but I do love if you do nerd out and pay attention to how the guitar playing has changed from 10 to now. And then you got to throw Eddie in there as a guitar player as well.
Yeah.
Because he's made some major contributions on the guitar playing side of it. Because he doesn't, I mean, yeah, there's songs like Elderly Woman or whatever that are just like chords, right? Just like your normal kind of stock acoustic chords or whatever. But he's also got like Not For You and Corduroy and, well, let's be honest, like most of Vitology. But
yeah.
But he has like some riff shit in there too that's pretty stellar. But one thing about Stone and Mike is that as the records go on, like if you go in chronological order, I have, with the exception of some of the solos, but even some of the solos over time, it used to be super easy to listen to the record as a guitar player and be like, that's Stone. That's Stone. That's a Stone riff right there. Or that's one of Mike's punky songs. But as time has gone on, it does, for me anyway, it gets harder and harder to tell who did what.
Right.
Just because the best way to say it is it almost feels like, whether intentional or not, they've kind of influenced each other, or maybe it's just out of self-preservation to not be bored being in the same band for so long. They've kind of like switched off roles over time.
Yeah.
Because there are Stone solos now in their catalog, you know? Even if you just count something like Not For You, you know, that was, in my head, like the first time I was like, oh shit, Stone's playing a solo. You know what I mean? It's just been cool to watch that progression over the years.
Well, and I think they've, we've talked about it before, but they have, the last few albums, totally been more of working together rather than in the beginning. It was just, this is my song, let's work on it. You know, and it was obvious, written by one person. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And now it seems like they all kind of bring ideas in together and work on them together.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I don't know, man. I mean, it was interesting watching Stone in the Lightning Bolt interviews, because part of me felt like, and I could totally, I mean, I don't know shit, whatever, but there were moments where, because that's a lot of interview footage. Have you watched all that? It's like 3.5 hours worth of interview stuff.
It's Steve Gleason interviewing them.
Carrie
and then,
Brownstein and Mike Richards and all kinds of people. Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
Which, man, we should find a way to... It might have to be a 2-part, but I'd like for us to dig into that whole thing. But because Eddie's...
Oh, there's some great stuff in there.
Eddie says some pretty interesting stuff a couple times in that thing. But there are moments where I just kind of wonder, and I thought about it too when I was writing out that list of his songwriting credits for each record. Because if you look at it, it's almost like a graph, and it just gets... The list from each record gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And... there were moments in that Lightning Bolt interview series that he did kind of seem like, I'm a little over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there were moments where you're like, okay, he's playing the role of the guy in the famous band that has to do the press junket.
Yeah.
These are my answers. That's going to make everyone happy. And I'm fucking bored with this. Because I've kind of always thought if anyone was going to quit the band first, it'd be Stone.
Yeah.
But I hope that doesn't happen. Because, I don't, they're one of those bands where I think if any of the core members left, the band would just be over. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think at this point, there's no way one of them would, I don't know. I just can't see one of them wanting to leave.
Eddie's not staying in Pearl Jam if Stone's not there.
Right. Yeah.
He'll just go keep doing his solo shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Jeff, he'll probably... Yeah, I mean, they'll all be bummed, but Jeff will keep doing his art, and I don't know, man. That would suck.
It would suck.
I hope that they go out in a way that's, I don't know, classy. And and even if one of them does say, hey, I'm going to leave, that they can all just not tell people that and say, we've all decided as a group, you know, we want to go out on top kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Keep the illusion alive.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that, like, Stone doesn't give a shit anymore.
I don't know, though. I think
Mike.
I was reading an interview, and he was saying that they kind of look at Neil Young and Bob Dylan as being, those guys are in their 70s, and they're still putting out stuff, and they're still putting out really good stuff.
Yeah.
And that they've been together so long that, you know, they've kind of figured out their differences, and now they use that to their advantage.
Right.
So, you know, hopefully they're not going to break up. Why are we talking about that?
Yeah, let's not talk about that anymore. I'm getting sad. I've already had a sad day.
Yeah.
What would you do if I just started bawling, crying right now?
That would
just
be great.
Like uncontrollably.
That would be great radio.
Just like moaning and wailing.
Yes, dude,
and then
it's okay.
they're like, we found a way to wrap it up, and I was like, yeah, man, I'll edit all that out, and then I didn't, and I put the podcast
and I look like
out.
an insensitive asshole.
Oh God, I would never do that. Don't worry. Well, I guess since we can't nerd out too much about, because I was just catching myself. I was looking at that list that I made and was like, oh, I want to talk about that song and that song and that song.
Yeah.
But somebody doesn't fucking listen to the guitars and be like, yeah, man, that's cool.
I
man,
like
awesome.
the guitars. I like
hell,
Pearl
man.
Jam.
I know, dude. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm like, yeah, we'll talk about some more because I wasn't trying to be like difficult with the question. It's just like, it just seems to have been a theme in a couple conversations I've had lately, and I'm just trying to understand. I
guess we listen to the songs differently, obviously. But
sure.
Again, that's because you play guitar and you're a musician and I'm not, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, I don't know, man. Do you think we did Stone justice on this one? Do you have anything else specifically? I'm looking to make sure.
I've got a quote here from him that I thought was kind of cool.
Oh, I've got one thing that's not as cool as a quote, but I did want to say it real quick, and then you can do your quote. Oh, I've got two things actually, real quick, and then we can wrap up with your quote. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I didn't know this until I was doing research this week, but Loose Groove Records, the record label that he owned, which I think was originally an imprint on Sony and then became independent from Sony, but signed Queens of the fucking Stone Age.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That.
I didn't know that either.
That is kick. I fucking love that band.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Daniel texted me actually just before we kind of got online with each other earlier this evening, and he was like, man, it just might be an interesting conversation starter, which we don't need to start a big conversation, but I did think it was interesting. He sent me this link to relics.com, and July of last year they put what they, and I didn't have time to read through the criteria they used or whatever, but they said they put out a list of what they thought was Stone's 10 best songs from Pearl Jam. So here's the list that they said.
And who is this?
It was a website called relics.com, relics with an X. So they had, and this is not in like a ranking order, it's just a list of 10. They put All Those Yesterdays, Thin Air, Over the Girl, Animal, In Hiding, Hold On, Fatal, Spin the Black Circle, Alive, and Once. What do you think is missing from that, Brad?
Mankind.
Oh, fuck. No, I can't believe that you haven't said something already. I think it's, we have talked about, I mean, I'm not saying it's your favorite song, but you definitely love the song that I'm thinking of right now. That's not on this list.
Hail, Hail? Did you say Hail, Hail?
That's not on the list, but that's not the one I was thinking of. Fucking Even Flow, dude.
Oh, shit.
They didn't put Even Flow on the list of Stone Gossard's 10 best songs.
I mean, that's some journalistic bullshit for you.
Oh, man.
They're hipsters. But see, like, Hold On?
Yeah.
That song?
Yeah.
I would have thought that's an Eddie Vedder song.
Right.
So.
Fatal is a great song, man. I wish that had made it onto binaural, but.
Hold On?
No, Fatal.
Oh, yeah, Fatal is awesome, too. But Hold On is one of those weird songs that, like, I just fucking love. And they played it at Wrigley in 2013, and I had this weird, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like they were playing it for me.
That's cool. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that feeling, like I kind of was like, I can't believe they're playing this. Like, how did they know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. Oh,
so,
God, that's great.
But you mentioned Loose Groove Records.
Yeah.
And one of the bands that he worked with as a producer was Critters Buggin'. Have you ever listened to them?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, dude, they're fucking awesome.
All right, it's another band I need to check out.
But
you just need to text me
like,
with this list that we've put together of stuff that I haven't checked out that you like.
Yeah, they're on iTunes. Get on Critters Buggin'. They are like
I just want to hear you say that.
Critters Buggin'.
Get on fucking iTunes, man. Critters Buggin'.
Listen to it on the way to Disney. It's real like, you know what though? You don't like instrumental stuff, so you might not get into it.
No, that's not true. I like instrumental stuff. I mean, it depends on what it is, but
not
fucking Steve Vai or fucking Satriani.
Come on, man. Passion and Warfare.
Fuck it.
No, anyway, just, Critters Buggin'. They're kind of like funk instrumental. It's really good.
All right, cool. I'll check it.
So get on that.
All right. So what was your thing that you were going to say?
He just was saying, he was talking about just the way here, I'll just read it.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh God, don't worry
got
about
some
it.
critters. You got some Critters Buggin'?
I had a Euro. I got some,
yeah.
I've got some sort of glottis thing happening. I apologize. Oh my God, my eyes are watering. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. I think my imprint for music and what I like about music was established when I was between 8 and 20 years old. The sort of main influences that are still striking me are still the same. Simon and Garfunkel, Led Zeppelin, Iggy and the Stooges, and 70s pop music. There these kind of things that just keep coming back to me that are like, this is where I'm from, this is what I want. And I just thought, like, that's I think a lot of us are like that. Like, when you're in that age, 10 to 20, all the different bands that you listen to and love, you love 20 years later,
right?
You know? And I mean, it's a pretty cool set of bands. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Simon and Garfunkel, Zeppelin, the Stooges, and then just 70s pop music. Cause I was raised on like 80s radio, until I could start buying my own CDs.
Right.
So it's interesting to have, it's not just, I just listen to metal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like I try to, for me, it's like this. I listen to a lot of different stuff.
Sure.
I try to.
Man, Stone Gossard, everybody.
Yeah.
He's a badass. Huge part of the band. Well, we did it, bud. We did our first band member episode.
Yeah, I liked digging into all the different records that he's been associated with.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't love all of it, but
sure.
Like, man, that, like I said, that song off Moonlander called "I Need Something Different" is awesome.
All right, cool.
It's such a cool, funky song.
Yeah, seriously, make me like a little list, and I'll check it out on the trip.
Yeah.
All right, bud. One thing we do need to mention, how you can get a hold of us. So you can email us. The email address is singlepodcasttheory@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Instagram. Our handle is @singlepodcasttheory. Our Twitter handle is @PearlJamPodcast. You can search on Facebook, Single Podcast Theory, and find our page there. And then there's YouTube, which before you say anything, Brad.
No comments.
It's my fault. I've been beyond slammed at work this week. And the way it works for me is that when we get done with an episode, I have to upload it to my Dropbox because we don't have iMovie here at the studio. For whatever reason, I have to Dropbox it to myself, and then I have to go home and use iMovie on our Mac at home and then upload it there. And I was leaving the studio every night at like 1 a.m, and I kept forgetting to upload it to the Dropbox. So I apologize to the YouTube listeners out there. I will be, well, it'll already be there by the time this airs, but I promise.
If you don't upload it, then they can't hear you apologizing.
I am going to start crying.
I felt like such an asshole like every day. Like,
no, I'm glad you did, man, but it still didn't work. I still fucking forgot.
Yeah, you made a liar out of me on Facebook. I had to tell people, oh, don't worry, it's coming tonight.
Did you really have people ask?
Yeah, there was a couple that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I was like.
Oh, God, I'm the worst ever.
When you told me it'll be up tonight, I told them.
Oh, no. And
but
now it's like 4 days later, Brad.
Yeah, I know.
Holy shit. All right, well, hopefully we can get those people back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll just have to.
But yeah, that's where you can find us. I'll probably have to edit something into the beginning, too, because we didn't put anything there. But that's it, dude. Stone Gossard. Stone
Zone.
He's in the Stone Zone.
That was
the motherfucking Stone Zone. What if I really sang like that?
When I was in line at Lexington, we were hanging out with this woman, and we were kind of, planning out when we get in there, where are we going? And everyone wanted to be in front of Eddie, and I'm like, I want to be in front of Mike. And she was like, I'm in the Stone Zone every time. And I had never heard that before.
Someone really said that?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, that's
so
where I heard it. I'm like,
badass.
I love that.
I wish I had a name that you could do that with.
Yeah.
What could you do with Brad? Nothing.
Dude, the Lion's Den.
Oh, God, that's so terrible. Welcome to the Lion's Den.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Nashville, October 3rd. Hug Explosion.
Yeah, come on.
That's going to be my next band name, Hug Explosion. All right, dude. Let's get out of here.
All right, man.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week. Until then, this is Brad Lyons.
And Brad Blazek.
Good job, bud. We're signing off. Peace.
I died, and you just said that. I died, and you watched. I died, and you walked by and said, no, I'm dead.
That was fine. Fuck yeah.